evening. Hopefully, the rain will continue and the heat will ease off a little. I got this young, dynamic man with me on the show tonight. Um, Looking forward to have this chat. He's a young man who is new to the game of cricket and the commentaries, and he's an aspiring commentator. Prior to that, he was a youngest news presenter on News First, I believe. If I'm wrong, please correct me, Samir. And basically, he comes from very humble backgrounds. Not a great cricketer himself, but his love for the game is amazing. His knowledge, and I have listened to the man recently on TV giving commentaries, and the guy is absolutely fantastic. And it's a privilege and honor to have Samir on the show. Assalamu alaikum, Samir. Good to have you on the show.
Walaikum assalam. Thank you, Charith sir. I can absolute pleasure and absolute honor, and I'm glad that someone like you has so much good things to say about me, especially with regards to the commentary, because that's something that I love doing, and it's I will take the fact that you said that I'm not a good cricketer. I'll take that with a pinch of salt. Maybe you can watch me do that as well, and then you can decide. But otherwise, yes, it's an absolute honor. It's an honor to be having a drink with the legendary Charith sir.
It's an honor, mate. It's a pleasure. What I meant was that I believe that you come from an international school kind of background, and we all know that that it took a long time for the international schools to gain some kind of recognition to get into the mainstream of cricket. They were never allowed to play in the leagues. There are so many leagues going on at school level, but never in the past that the international schools were given an opportunity to take part. And I think as a result of that, what really happened was that we kind of neglected a certain segment of our community. And there were so many, I know that the past cricketers' sons who attended international schools, and great talent, they never had the opportunity of showcasing themselves in the cricketing arena, and the guys just moved on, and most of them have gone overseas. But it's really encouraging to see that the students are getting, the kids who are attending international schools are getting some kind of recognition in other sporting fields such as basketball, athletics, swimming, and in the mainstream. And what I meant, Samir, I'm sure that you would have played some cricket during your school days, but did you ever have a chance to compete with some of the known schools?
See, that's the thing with international schools, Charith. I mean, I was first at Beaver College until my O levels, and then I went to Vichali for my A levels. You see, at that time, there is such a disconnect with the rest of the schools that play cricket. Like when I say schools, I mean the Division 1 league schools. In fact, until I became a commentator for the papare.com and stuff, I didn't even know that school cricket was this intense, and that there was this competition every year. There was 2-day cricket. For us at international schools, it was about, okay, we have a tournament once every year among the other international schools, and even then we played 30 over tournaments, which was considered like a big deal for us. So the standard of cricket, obviously the importance that our international schools gave to cricket wasn't so much, because obviously when you say international schools, as you said, the focus is more on the academics. The focus is more on the fact that, okay, we need to get these guys to become good businessmen, because that's what international schools are expected to do, right? So unfortunately, that standard that you would expect from other schools, that the amount of focus that other schools put on cricket, international schools don't put that, unfortunately. I graduated from Vichali in 2007. And even back then, the only exciting thing about cricket for us was our yearly big match against CIS, Colombo International School. Right. So I played for Beaver College from under 15 level, under 17, and then I went to Vichali, and I played both the years that I was there. I did play the big match there. So if you ask me whether have I played, yes, I have played. But have I played against quality opposition? No, I haven't. Because especially now, as a commentator, when I watch actual original school cricket and compared with the way our international school kids used to play, even now, because I think my commentary stint, the last one last year before COVID hit the roof and things went haywire, it was the international big match between British versus overseas college, right? And you could tell the difference, Charith, in the standard. a 50-over game between these two schools, and if you look at a 50-over game between, let's say, for example, a Royal versus Joseph or a Trinity versus Thomas, it's a world of difference. You can't even, it's like apples and oranges. You can't even compare. That's how different the standards are. So unfortunately, the schools are themselves aren't too interested in focusing too much on cricket, and because of that, I guess we don't get the opportunities that we perhaps deserve. But I've been a lover of the sport since childhood, Charith. I've always been big fan of cricket, and especially in our growing years in the late 90s, it was all about Sanat Jayasuriya. When he comes out to bat, everything stops, right? The universe stops, right? So back in the day in school, we would and again, back in the day, there was no streaming, or there were no cricket for apps for us to watch scores. We would secretly take a little pocket radio to school and try and listen to the commentary. And that's how the interest in commentary also came up, actually. There was this madness of trying to speak like legends like Aubrey Kurupu and Brian Thomas and these kind of guys. They were the ones who used to describe cricket for us. So those were the sort of heroes that we listened to and grew up at the time.
Oh, what a beautiful story, the names that you mentioned, Aubrey Kurupu, I had the pleasure of working with him sometime back, Brian Thomas, of course, that you need someone to emulate. And, you said something very interesting, that, you look at the standards, between some of the recognized schools and, where the international schools are played. But in life, it's progression, that good things cannot happen overnight. And all these schools, they have, they come from a very long cricketing history. Most of these schools, they have been playing the game over 100 years. And where they are today is, that if you look back, and, just that's the progression. So that's why, in my own capacity, that, I try to push international schools to start somewhere, because you don't have the infrastructure, you don't have the culture, you don't have the same facilities or the understanding how the game is being played. And having said that, mate, not many kids attend international schools, don't follow the game of cricket. I mean, their interest is elsewhere, in other sports, perhaps, that the games that are a bit alien to Sri Lanka, like, basketball, perhaps swimming, athletics, and so on and so forth. And then I had the pleasure of, interviewing, the last interview I had, Anna Maria Ondachi, into gymnastics. And, so these are, they go into other sports, but how did you pick up to become, that, in a very short space of time, wherever you are, where you are at the moment, how did you get there?
I'll tell you why there was so much cricket interest especially in my family alone. So I'm from I'm a community called Memons, right? So we are a community that hails from India, Gujarat, and my grandfather actually made the migration here in the 40s when the partition happened in India, when there was Pakistan partition happening. So my grandfather migrated to Sri Lanka in the 40s as a refugee. I mean, I've read stories of how he had been stabbed on the way and he was looted, and so he started life in Jaffna. My father was born there. So obviously cricket was something that was connected to is very much connected to our community as Memons, right? We very much have it in us, this craze for cricket, because obviously it's a colonial game, it's a British game, and in India while we were there it was also a big deal. So my understanding is that in our families there was this craze for cricket, because especially in the early 90s, in 1992 when Pakistan won the World Cup, right, there was this excitement among our communities, especially our community, because we had this connection with India and Pakistan, right, because of our forefathers being from there. So at that time, obviously, the Sri Lankan team wasn't the kind of team that was competing at such a high level. They were good enough, but they weren't good enough at that time to be able to win a World Cup. So when Pakistan won the World Cup in 1992, there was this sudden feeling of connection with the game of cricket. A lot of families from my community started holding the game very dear to themselves. And then slowly we saw the progression of Sri Lanka cricket as well. We were the next team to win the next World Cup in 1996. Yeah. So automatically you see how it's going, right? The progression. So from this excitement for the love of the game, and then Sri Lanka winning the 1996 World Cup, there was this buzz around the game, and that everyone was falling in love with it. So I guess I'm one of those kids who, in the family there was love for cricket. My brother and I are just absolutely crazy about cricket. We would play at home, hours and hours. He would, we had scores like 1,000 for 2 and 1,000 for 3. So that's how crazy we were about the game. And unfortunately, like you said, international schools didn't really allow us to be expressive in the way we play, but in the way we speak about the game, in the way we describe the game, I think we there isn't a day when my brother and I we get together in office and we don't speak about cricket. There's always some conversation about some international or some club cricket going on somewhere. So it's sort of inbuilt. It's in the DNA now. And now that I've come out of the whole I joined MTV as a newsreader, as you said, in 2008. Initially, even then, my dream, my if you could say, my ambition was to become a international sports presenter. So I thought, okay, maybe news is a good stepping stone for it. But obviously, there wasn't too much happening at the time. MTV. It was obviously a lovely experience. Reading news is just a brilliant experience. I had the honor of working under people like Shevan Daniel, and then which was, I think, one of the best experiences I've had ever. There were some brilliant people: Ravi Gamage, Warren Jansen, Sunesh Rodrigo, Shamir Rasuldin, all these guys, absolute mentors, man. I've learned so much from them. And then when my parents realized that, look, journalism isn't a career in this country through which you can do much, and it's also dangerous, they said, you know what, step out of it. It's not good enough for you. And there were other reasons. My father had quite a bad fall. He's a patient of a disease called muscular dystrophy, through which, as you age, your walking ability becomes difficult. So he had a really bad fall around the time I was in the news industry, and then it became so that he couldn't walk for the rest of his life. So he was confined to a wheelchair permanently. So it was my job to sort of take him to office, bring him back. So I had to permanently, full time, be with him and give up on my journalism or media career. And then obviously that went on for about 4 or 5 years. My father passed away in 2016. I started a new business, and now that business is sort of on autopilot mode, and that's why it's allowing me the time to sort of step back into media and maybe pursue my dreams of being a presenter and a commentator.
Interesting story, man. I hope your old man will get better. I mean, whatever, just he will have a peaceful retirement. Whatever he needs.
He passed away in 2016. Charith.
Yes. I'm sorry to hear that. Just
that's fine.
But no, it's very interesting. What people have to go through, and as I said earlier, that it's not many people who will step into this area of the game. That it's a very competitive. How competitive it is. That and with the COVID and very little exposure that you're likely to get. And unfortunately, like in India or perhaps even if you look at Pakistan, Bangladesh, they all give opportunities to the upcoming commentators in the domestic circuit. But unfortunately, it's not happening here. That you probably would have seen. We just concluded the so-called the domestic season for 2021, and hardly any media coverage, and there's hardly any matches covered on TV. So your chances of gaining experience and being in the spotlight is very limited. So what I'm trying to say is that as much as I would like to see you prospering in your field, it's going to be a very hard task. It's going to be like but there can be that's light at the end of the tunnel. Like Bosch, who's this guy in India? He's not a great cricketer, but he's now today the great commentator. He's probably what's his name?
Harsha Bhogle. He's my mentor. I like to be known as the Harsha Bhogle of Sri Lanka.
There you go. I mean, you put the guy against any experts in a panel, but he would stand out. That's the beauty of this. The whole thing. That's my own experience, and that's my own belief. I don't think you have to be a top class cricketer to get behind a microphone and just to express yourself, as long as you understand the game, the nitty-gritty of it.
There are some brilliant examples to what you're saying even here, Charith. I mean, I got to thank the Papare.com. I mean, they have been brilliant in terms of giving opportunities to young and aspiring commentators. And even there are some well-known names, like we have the Haritha Pereiras, you have Kosala Suresh Chandra, you have so many good guys, like Ricky Sims is one of them, right?
Oh, yeah.
These are all brilliant commentators who deserve much more than just be doing school matches all their lives. In fact, I always ask the Papare.com guys, like, why aren't we telecasting Sri Lanka cricket's domestic matches? But then it comes back to the usual problems. There's, the board being politicized, and, unfortunately, deserving people don't get what they should be getting. And you spoke on domestic cricket, Charith. Let's turn the tables a bit. I want to I want to pick your brains and see what we can maybe get out of this conversation. you are someone who I've seen on Facebook. You've always been someone very positive. Like in anything that happens, you always bring out a very positive, light-hearted aspect to things, which is brilliant. I mean, you need more of that in this world. With the COVID, the whole lockdown finishing, and the pandemic sort of going into like sort of shading away from us. It's going into like a shadow. A lot of things opened up, but I remember you were quite frustrated with the fact that cricket took so long to open, right? And even then there were so many guidelines and there were so many things put in place in terms of playing inside a bubble sort of thing. I'm sure in your long career of being a cricketer and also a manager and a coach, and all these parts that you've played in the field of cricket, this must be such a new experience, right? Playing inside a bubble in the middle of a pandemic. How did you pull through it? It must have been mentally challenging, Charith.
Good question, mate. Very good question. And first of all, big hi to all those people who are with us, from all over the world, and big hi to Lal Jaisinger, top-notch coach. He coached Hong Kong, and if you may remember that, he's a professional coach based in Australia. I'm sure that he's listening to you every word that you say that quite intently, and all those people who have joined us and is encouraging and supported me throughout this journey, and supporting you. Thank you very much for being on the show. The discussion is open, and you can, just the way Samir raised that question, everybody is free to ask, what they want to. Yeah, I mean, just to tell you frankly, this is a novel experience to any athlete, any coach, anybody involved in sports. For that matter, I think for anyone, in any human being in this world, lockdowns, functioning inside a bubble, literally doing everything virtually, and social distancing, you name it. I mean, these are all new things, which we have never heard of, but we are quietly adapting. Perhaps that we probably, I heard some good news today that in UK that there is speculation that they finally found a cure for this the pandemic, which is good news. Hopefully that that's a nasal spray, and you don't need vaccinations, nothing. Wow. You spray it up, and you are all well and good in a couple
of
days.
That's news to me. I've not heard this. Wow, that's brilliant news.
Just coming out this evening. Hopefully that's all that is. It's true. And to go back to your question, seriously, we didn't know what was happening, and that the things that we learned, and there was a period of uncertainty where there was a complete lockdown that we were not allowed to step out of the house. Probably people know we Sri Lankans, we have a very short memory. That we forget, but certain things which you cannot forget. I think this time last year, I think we were all in lockdown, total lockdown, and we couldn't even step out of the houses, and we were all confined, inside our own rooms, and so we had to come out with various innovations, how you keep the game alive, and most importantly, how to keep these athletes in shape, because that the human body, if you just go out of training for more than 2 to 3 weeks, you got to start from scratch. Your muscle memory, your built-in muscle memory, they all lose out. It doesn't matter how good you are. So that's why we say you need constant training. Even the world-class athletes, you always, even if you are at the top of your game, you need to go out there and physically, and sometimes that what we call it, you have to do top-ups. If you don't proper skill fitness training, it's a constant thing. It's like life. That because you have one training session does not mean you can. Okay, there are guys, that there are freaks out there, and I'm not talking about the legends such as Sanat Jayasuryas and Brian Lara's, and they're to me, they're total freaks. They are not normal people. That all they need is just couple of nets, and they are good to go. That's they have a built-in memory system. They are built to go out there and perform. But everybody, this, if you look in general, everybody is not made that way. So we had to come up with innovations. And I remember that I'm getting the whole squad and getting a trainer, and I hope he's watching. The Shakir, the young trainer that we had. So thrice a week we used to train virtually and inside the house, and just to keep the guys in shape mentally and physically. So we are not talking about the skill part of it. So that's in anticipation that someday you see some light at the end of the tunnel and we'll get back on the field.
Yeah, see, that's why I want to interrupt you. I mean, it can be challenging because you don't know when the season's going to start. yet you got to keep fit, right? So generally, when you're going through a fitness regime, you have sort of an end goal in sight. You're motivated because, okay, you want to get out there. There's a tournament coming up. There's a match coming up, so you're going to keep yourself fit. But without knowing when something's going to start, it must have been even more challenging to keep that whole regiment going.
But that was really hard because because we were training without knowing what's in store for us.
That's the thing, yeah.
It's just the only thing that we could do at that point, from a coach's point of view, that's just to keep the boys going on a daily basis, because they were getting totally depressed, and mentally people were going into depression. So the only way to keep them going is like, when you say on your group, on your WhatsApp group, say, guys, 3 to 5 o'clock training. So the guys, the whole day, you prepare yourself knowing that there's a training session coming on, so that you program your day accordingly. From the time you wake up, your breakfast, you do your stretching, you get some rest in between, and you get ready for the session. So that what we did, we gave people hope to live. So in a situation like that, from a sporting point of view, that's all you could do. That give people hope, and eventually that we were given the green light to play. And well, last year when we played the season, no people did not really know about the bubble scenario. So we actually went out and played, and we completed the domestic season without too many hiccups. But I must tell you something that I think I have, in a very roundabout way, I have mentioned this on Facebook a couple of times. I'm sure that 90% of my squad, the boys were infected, and none of us were,
okay.
including myself. I remember we were playing NCC last year. That was in the Super 8, one of the games we were playing in Katnak, and luckily we were staying overnight. 3 days we were staying in Negombo, and on the end of the second day, we were 5 down for 40, and we were struggling to save the game. I remember that.
Because half your guys were sick, is it?
I'm sorry.
Because half your guys were sick, was it because of
that?
No.
It's a second. We batted first. We won the game on first innings. NCC came back hard on us, and they got we were batting towards the end of the second day, towards the post tea session, and it's brilliant. Lairu Kumara and just all those guys at their brilliant best, and we were 5 down to 40, and I held back Banuka. It was all strategy. And
yes, I do remember that game now. Yes.
Yeah, it was. Banuka got 100 in the first innings, and then he got another brilliant 100 in the second, and it was a fantastic game. And NCC, they don't play to lose. You know that they have a great tradition. They are a great club, and they were really they were flabbergasted that they lost the game first innings. They were coming hard on us, and after the game, the boys came in and said, "Coach, all of us are sick, and I could barely move." And I was like, what the hell? And I took the phone to inform the club, guys, I'm going to give a walkover, and now the boys can play. But then again, I thought, no, let us just try and get over this day. And we just went out and bought the whatever the little money that we had in the kitty. We got antihistamines and painkillers and whatnot. We gave the boys, gave them early dinner, and got them to sleep. Next morning we got up, did a warm up, and played the game. We almost won the game outright. Such a brilliant game. But the boys recovered in a space of 3 to 4 days. They are young, fit, and then we went on to play Saracens 3 days after. Immediately we survived. Thank God, because they were that none of us we did not go into quarantine kind of scenario. We did not we didn't test ourselves. We survived. But that I don't know. It's fortunate or unfortunate, or that why I'm saying that, I'm sure that, that 90% of a country, perhaps we had this, and, we have got over it. And so if you really look at it, what's happening around the world, and most of the countries are again back into, serious lockdowns, that countries are like, non-functional right now as we speak. And, India is, it's going crazy. But for only reason, the south of India is functional. And of course, as we all know, that IPL is going on in that part of the world. But as you go up north, and with the colder times, the disease is spreading. And we are lucky. Sri Lanka is one of the countries that we are functional. And going back to your question again, this year it was again really, since we finished the Super 8 last season, again there was a period of uncertainty. We didn't know where we are going. There was, it's like a ship without a rudder. We were just drifting in deep waters without knowing, where we are heading. And again, we were training blindly, and suddenly we were told that, okay, get back and play two shorter formats. It started with the T20s, and then when we moved on to the limited overs, the conditions laid down were if one player reported sick or found positive, and the whole tournament to be scrapped. Okay. Those were the conditions that were laid down, by the authorities. But don't believe it or not, and we played the finals last night, and not a single player got reported sick, and no one. I think few players were tested. I think you were part of that. The university Red Bull tournament, and where the players were tested, and 90, I think perhaps 100% players, guys who were tested, were found negative, and that tournament went on. Now this tournament also concluded, but then again, as a result of it got delayed 4 months. The most important tournament, which is the 3-day tournament, is not happening. Which is very, very unfortunate. That again, I think officially now the cricket season is over in Sri Lanka, because I believe 70% of the players, I think some of them have already left the UK. That they are going to play cricket the domestic season in UK, and another batch of players and leaving in the next few days. And I believe by end of this month there will not be any cricketers left in Sri Lanka to play any cricket. That's.
I'm still here. I'm still here. So I'm looking forward to the Division 3 tournament is supposed to start by end of May. So I'm looking forward to that, because that's what my club plays. Unfortunately, our boys can't commit too much time other than a few Sundays to play. Okay, Mr. Charith, let's talk about some very truth facts, okay? Because since Sri Lanka cricket's performances haven't been very good in the last couple of years, many people have said many things, okay? Experts have said things, non-experts have said things, former players have said things. There was a whole TV show madness that went on. Former World Cup winning captains came and said things. And one thing is constant, okay? Everyone says this one thing, is that there is a problem with domestic cricket in Sri Lanka. Right now, you are someone who's part of this domestic system. You are the coach of a very well-known club, right? You have some very well-known players under you. I'm sure you'll agree with me that yes, there is a system there is a problem in terms of the domestic system. There are maybe way too many teams. Maybe there's the competition isn't stiff enough. Too many players are playing each other. Do you agree with most of the sentiments mentioned there, or do you really think that okay, everyone what they say is true, that the domestic structure needs a serious overhaul? And if so, in your opinion, what's that overhaul going to look like?
Well, it's a complex issue, mate. Looking back at the time we played, yes, there were only about 12 clubs, and I played the premier level, and all clubs had their own grounds and training facilities, and it's brilliant. Even at that time, if you look at teams like Kurunagala, and he's doing well from Tier B teams, and probably Kandy, Gaul, they all had their own grounds, and they were all very centralized, and the guys who came from those particular areas, at the end of the day, after leaving school, they had the facilities to go and play the game in their respective districts. They essentially didn't have to come to Colombo to gain recognition or play cricket. But the times have changed, and all those clubs who played a very high standard of cricket, the outstation clubs have gone down, which is a fact. And that is perhaps maybe because of the migration of all those players who come from outstation. In order to express themselves, they have to come to Colombo.
Correct.
And the game has expanded. It has probably one can argue there is quantity, but there is no quality, right? But also the game has changed. It has become professional. At the time we played, there was no money involved. Whereas these guys, the guys who are playing right now, that's their full-time job. They play cricket 365 days of the year. They play the domestic season. No sooner the season is over, they take off to either England or Australia and go play a season there, because they get paid more in those countries. So it's a problem is complex, that if you are going to reduce the number of teams, that you're talking about, and in order to gain quality, so we need to find ways and means how we are going to accommodate all these players with a minimum number of games that they have to play in order to go and play overseas. All that need to be looked into. If not, we have to increase our our current squads from 20, probably 30, 35, and make them all professional cricketers, and we need to absorb all of them. Otherwise, the game is going to, it's not going to expand. So it's a catch 22 situation, that you have to have the cake and eat it as well. So you can't, I think you can't scrap the system that is in place overnight. To answer your question, is our domestic structure, the talent that is coming up is so bad. Whereas guys like Pathum, Nisanka, and all those guys, they're the guys who have been playing domestic cricket. And Osha the Fernandos, the guys who are, this is our feeder system. We don't have any other system. It's people talk about provincial kind of scenario. Can we actually say that you have Southern province?
Okay.
Right? Can you have a province that actually 30 players assigned to do you see now you know the game perhaps more than I do when you look at the infrastructure? Do you actually see 30 players going to Goland training?
No way.
Or real sponsors backing that the province? Still the funds that everything have to come from Sri Lanka cricket.
So that's another problem, isn't it? The commercial aspect of the game is very tough. Even with the LPL, that's one thing, Charith, I saw that it was quite unfortunate. Like, there was no team that was owned by Sri Lankan. I mean, where are the big boys like the MAS and the Brandixes and all these guys? Aren't they supposed to support initiatives like that, where, we have a league of our own and where, teams are players are given the sort of platform to express themselves with international foreign players? That commercial aspect is obviously missing, and that's one problem. Here's another issue. Charith, you talked about players like Pathum, Nisanka, and Osha Fernando. Agreed. I 100% agree with that. Okay, because we have a good decent domestic success, we have good players like this are coming to the fray. But what I noticed with this season again is that Army came a long way this time. They almost made it to the finals. Then you have NCC, which is right now one of the top clubs in the country. They've won the tournament, obviously. If you look at the numbers and the stats, isn't it the same old guys from the last decade? You have the Tarangas still performing. You have the Sikuge Prasannas still performing. You have the Angelo Pereiras, all tried and tested guys on the international circuit, right? It's very, now you mentioned Pathum and Oshada, right? Other than that, do you see too many young prospective players who you think you can point and say, look, okay, here's one we've got who we think is going to be the next Sanath or the next Kumar Sangakkara or the next Tilakaratna Dilshan? Isn't this one of the issues? We're not seeing enough new talent.
Well, you could argue, then again, that's like, there's so much quantity. There are guys out there with a lot of talent, whether they have been carefully nurtured into the system. That's a question that we need to look at. But you get Kamil Mishras, and I saw that, playing for NCC, Janit Tiseras, who had been in the system. But fading off these seniors is also a process. You can't just, you need now, especially in a club like, BRC or any club you take, you need these seniors to play that anchor role where the juniors have to grow up. Even Sanath Jayasurya's and all those guys who, when they came up, they had Arjuna Ranatungas, Aravinda De Silvas. They were their mentors, they were there. So these guys, they grew up, it did not happen over a period of time. So I see a lot of young talent, there's sufficient talent out there. There's no doubt about talent, but how you harness that talent and how you guide them under the current circumstances, COVID and other, as you said, the commercial aspect of it. It's not easy being an athlete. That's people don't understand how hard it is. That there are supplements, the nourishment, the training, the gear. Look at how expensive a bat is. If a player don't have a sponsorship, it's not easy for a younger player to buy a bat, because a decent bat would cost more than 15 to 20,000 rupees, and it's probably it's almost more than their match fees, just what is investing on a bat. So we have a lot of constraints that in when it comes to cricket, and it's just like that you can't, it's talent alone is not the problem. That sometimes I'm also like as I at the beginning of a conversation I mentioned all the names you mentioned that they are whom I consider as freaks. But if you look at in an even playing field in professional sport, the difference between amateur sports and professional sport is as you go along in life, or even sports, and I'm just talking in general, that when you get into higher stage, the idea is that you you make less mistakes. The number of mistakes you make, you minimize, you become a pro. Because at professional level, you don't well, you're still human and you can make mistakes, but the difference between a professional and an amateur is you make less mistakes at the top. So that's how we become, it's just, it's a process, it can't happen overnight. But so at the moment when you do things haphazardly and going back and just, when you don't know, when you're caught up in a scenario whether you have to play your LPL prior to your 3-day game, and then your national team decides to go on a tour to South Africa, and you're totally unprepared, and you can go there and get caught up and half your team gets injured. You come back and you have no game plan. Again, you get caught up in a scenario in goal. Again, we have no game plan. So at the moment, we are not doing things in a professional manner. It's all done haphazardly. Just you play one tournament here, one tournament there, trying to get some money from one domestic tour, play LPL, and try and get some money, pump some money back into the domestic system. We don't have a proper system. That is where the problem is. I don't know all these committees that are appointed, and the technical
committees are a fun thing in our country, aren't they? For every little thing there's a committee.
Yeah, and nothing happens. I mean, nobody, I think most of these guys, they understand where the problem is, that we don't have proper management systems, and whatever the talent we have in this country, it's not been harnessed properly. And when what happens is, like, when you see your main institution, that there are so many accusations, that you don't even want to talk about what's happening at, in the parliament level. So many accusations that filters down along the way, so then everybody, even the players, can see what's happening, and everybody starts, playing games, forgetting the real game you're playing. That is what's happening here. And if you want to restructure, if you want to, to take actually, seriously want to take the game to the next level, you need proper planning. I'm seriously, I don't know that whether getting down Tom Moody is like it's all.
I was going to ask you. That was going to be my next question. You are a coach yourself. Are you a fan of foreign coaches for the national team?
Well, mate, it's then again that that's why do you bring a person from outside? Because we have a cricketing culture. We have all grown up in this country, and we see the game in a certain perspective. This is that's what we have learned, right? But when you bring a person from outside, he sees the game differently. So we want to tap into the knowledge of that person and see, how we can improve ourselves. That's why, we always,
best practices that they may have learned in their other assignments overseas.
Exactly. So what you are basically paying, this, fancy money, which you may call, people will always ask you why you are paying, such, huge sums to, so-called coaches. What you are paying is for their insights, their knowledge, that which you're trying to harness. But I don't know, which is a value, and what people don't understand, if some knowledge is money, that at the end of the day, in whatever it is, knowledge doesn't come to you overnight. Either it's by experience, it's over a period of time, that you have to be a professional in that whatever the area in order for you to demand that kind of money. But is that happening? Are we getting the right people? Having said that, we have had, I learned a lot, working with people like Graham Ford. And when we won the 96 World Cup, who was a guest on my show, Doug Watmore, he brought in a different aspect of the game, which, we were like, we were not paying that much attention and focus to fitness. But Dav came, he brought, a top trainer.
Alex Conturi, famous physiotherapist.
He brought in Alex. So he brought in a different cricketing culture, which is alien to us, and that worked for us. So that's where you need foreign coaches. But to answer your question, whether it's happening, I do not know. But where the biggest problem is, when a coach comes and he tries to bring what he knows, right, and he's trying to implement it in our country, sometimes, it doesn't work. Now that's like what India has done. So India, over a period of time, they had many foreign coaches, and they felt that they were falling short. So now they have gone completely the other way around. And if you look at their entire support staff, is all Indians.
Correct.
All Indians who have played the game. One exception, which is Bahua, which is everybody knows, the fielding coach whom we had, and India took it. India took him from us, and he's doing a behind the scenes, and he's doing a fantastic job in India. It's a great loss to our cricket, and he's the only foreign the foreign personality that they have in their coaching staff. But India is producing results because they understand their culture. And sometimes the problem is, the coaches who come from overseas, they do not understand our culture, and it does not work. So you need to strike a balance, and I'm not too sure whether it's happening right now. And the other problem is their lack of knowledge of the young talent that is coming up, and they are heavily dependent. Let me put it this way: the time I was manager, one thing Graham Ford told me, or he ensured that we have a proper dialogue with our high performance center, A-team coach Abhishek Gunawardena, constant dialogue. So they are the ones who feed. They know the guys who are coming up, who's ready to play at the national level.
So something like what Rahul Dravid does for India, right?
Exactly. So you need a proper feeder system, and if there is no communication between the national team, high performance, and the coaches below, it's not going to happen. You can bring whoever you want, but if there's no proper communication and the energies are not channeled in the right direction, it's not going to happen. That's what I have to say.
Okay, I guess it boils down to the fact that our cricket is so much more connected to politics, isn't it? I mean, our board is directly under the purview of the Ministry of Sports, and I guess that's one of the issues, that no matter what you do, there will always be that political stigma attached to our cricket. Charith, I think we have 40 minutes into conversation. Here's my last question to you, and you can ask me if you something after that if you want. If there is a change that you could bring to Sri Lanka cricket, a quick fix. Okay, you have been given a magic wand, and you're told, okay, make a wish and strike this wand for the betterment of Sri Lankan cricket. What is it that one thing Charith Seranayake will change for Sri Lanka cricket?
I'm not a believer in magic. I'm a seeker. I always, that I don't believe, unless I actually see it to my own eyes.
I'm asking you hypothetically, if this was a possibility.
Yeah. And if there is any magic out there, I don't want to miss it either. So I'm just not discarding about magic. So
okay.
Right now, where we are, let me put this question back to you. That if you play a relatively, that if you breed young blood, right, and thinking that you have a forward plan, and in another 3 to 4 years down the line, like what India did, let's look at how well they perform when half the team was broken down in Australia.
That's right.
They go to Perth and play with 6 rookies, and they
shows the strength of their bench, doesn't it? It's brilliant.
You see, now that's where we need to get into. So yes, you need a good mix of experience and youth. Right now suddenly you take out all those seniors who are playing. They probably play 2-3, maximum another 2-3 seasons, right? And then you don't have any youngsters who take over the reins. Like we spoke about, there were Arjunas and Sanats, and when they retired, there were Sangas, Mahelas, Tilakaratna Dilcha, Hashans, and there were a lot more. That's what I spoke about. There's progression in life always. Is there progression at the moment? No. So we are just picking players from here and there, just trying to get 11 players, the best possible combination. But do we have a long-term plan? Do we have a short-term plan? I can't see that. So to answer your question, what I would do right now, I take a bold decision. I would invest in the future, and play a relatively new team, give these boys exposure. But what is happening right now, whether we are playing all these, guys whom we spoke about, tried and tested, it's the same result. And out there, and perhaps, the younger folks are, doing better than some of the seniors. So it's a time someone to make a call and say, this is going to be our future plan. So that's, then you put your country, everybody, communication again. You tell your spectators, tell your commentators, people like you, this is our forward plan. No matter what, we are going to be consistent, with a group of youngsters, whom we have identified, who will take our cricket to next level, and you pursue. And you go on with them. That's, you got to make, bold decisions at this point, because do we have anything to lose at this point? I think, we have hit rock bottom. All we have to do, all we have is to gain. So let's take a decision and look forward. That's what I'm saying.
Brilliant. Brilliant. Always lovely to hear your insight, Charith. I told you, you've always been a man of positivity and promoting youngsters, and that's you've proved it to me today. Do you want to go through the comments and wrap it up, or what do you want to do?
No, but I mean, we can just go on. Just I would like to ask more about that what kind of work have you done so far in your shorting, that very short space of your sporting career. That's I know that you have done work on TV, and that's outside cricket. But since are you full time into cricket, and where do you want?
No. So after my father passed away, I started a business, a furnishing fabrics business. So this is basically sofa and curtain fabrics. I don't mind one of the Red Bulls. I'm absolutely knackered today. So yeah, so it's a company it's a Belgian company. We are the Sri Lankan distributors for them. So we sell to hotels and sofa shops, sofa makers, curtain makers, designers, architects. That's pretty much my business. Worked extremely hard from 2014 up until 2 years ago, and now I would say the company is sort of an autopilot mode. I've got a great team, a back-end team that's sort of running the whole show, and obviously I'm also involved. I am the director of the company, so it's going in a way. So see, that's where it comes back to your point, isn't it? Whether you're a cricketer or a commentator or a presenter in this country, it's hard to do it as a profession because of the lack of opportunities. So luckily for me, by God's grace, that's my business is sort of bringing my bread and butter home. So I don't have to rely on my commentaries or my anything to sort of for my financials. Even when I joined the Papare.com as a commentator, when I told them that I want to join, I never really spoke about remuneration. I said, listen, I just want to do it because I love the game and I want to be in it. I want to be sitting behind a mic and describing cricket. That's my childhood dream. And if I could do it for a while, that'll be great. So, and as you said, because there's such a disconnect from international schools and other schools when it comes to cricket, that's one of the things that sort of draws me back when it comes to these school matches, because I don't know the history. I don't know some of the famous names from those schools, right? But what I can do is I can describe the sport in a way that others can't, perhaps. I guess, and not to blow my own trumpet, but I guess I come across as a better, more eloquent speaker than maybe some others. So that's why I get a lot of praise from people when I do commentaries. But I guess the only stumbling block for me is the fact that, my knowledge in terms of the schools and their histories and some of the names that are attached to them, that is sort of something that I need to learn. It's a work in progress, and I am learning. And hopefully, let's see. But otherwise, I think it was after the Easter attacks, 2 years ago, that I really realized that, even as a Muslim myself, I need to be more out there, because after my father's death, I'd gone into sort of like a shell, where I used to be a very extrovert person in school, and then after that, even when I was in media. Then immediately after that, because of my father's death and my business, I was in I was a closed book. I wasn't doing anything in terms of my media thing. And I decided, I need to do more, because I'm not doing justice to what I can do. And a lot of my friends also encouraged me, saying, listen, there's so much more you can offer. Why don't you go out and do something? And that's when I decided, okay, let's do something. And I spoke to Ganesha, the lovely lady Ganesha at the Papare.com, Adabit Veerasinghe, he's heading cricket. So spoke to them, and I do a bit of, other than that, obviously, I've also, because of social media, now you have your own platform. You don't have to depend on others to sort of, do your own shows and stuff, just like you're doing Drink with Charith. I have a show called Cricketology, which I do every pre-match and post-match of a Sri Lankan series. So if there's a T20 series, so before the series and after the series, we do like a preview and a review. Ideally, I get Harun Maujud, former under-19 Sri Lankan cricketer. I sit with him and we have a little analysis and a discussion. Wow. I try to keep up with domestic cricket as well, to sort of know what's going on, the names and stuff. And more recently, as you mentioned, I did start my own talk show on TV called Perspectives. I'm sure you watched the interview with Arun Dias, who obviously is one of those mentors for a lot of presenters like me. He was a guy who watched growing up. So yeah, that's pretty much what I'm doing, other than obviously my business, which is my full time. So by God's grace, I have the time to sort of take time out of that business and do these things for like comparing, presenting, commentating. Hope and want to do it more, obviously.
Excellent. The words of wisdom. Just from a coaching point of view, what you said, that we all are not equals. We all have certain limitations in life, and what at this level, I mean, even for you as a commentator, this is either you can take it or you can leave it. Or anybody listening out there, in life, as humans, I think we all have certain, amount of talent, or the God's given talent, whatever what we call it. But the idea is, we need to look for that extra 1%. That one thing, in my cricketing career, which I understood, I had talent. Perhaps I was very talented, but I wasn't hardworking. But there were guys who were far more hardworking than I am, ended up playing for Sri Lanka long before I did, and they had, like prolonged careers, unlike me. Because by the time I played, literally, I'm at the end of my career, and my body couldn't handle it anymore. And I missed out best period of my time. Okay, we grew up in an area, there was civil war, and there were hardly any domestic tours, and we went through a lot. But yet, what I'm trying to say is, if you look at the guys who actually made it to the top, is a guy who has that extra 1% than an ordinary player. So what you need to do is, as a commentator, you know your strong points and you know your weak points. So you work on your stronger points and ignore your weaker points that you do better than the others.
Okay.
Right. So you got to put in a lot of hard work. That's, I don't know whether you understood what I'm trying to say. It's not only in cricket, whether it's in a working environment or in day-to-day life. What makes you better than the others? We all on an equal platform. As humans. Just that you need to strive for that extra 1%. So once you clear that hurdle, that another extra 1%, because the competition is catching up always. People will look at you. They'll try to uplift their game. So you need to keep lifting your game so that you get to the highest point. But the beauty of it is, even the guys who are like top-notch commentators, they also learn every day. There's nothing in life to say that I know everything, because you don't. That's how what we know is very little in life. So every time talking to you today, I learned a lot. And I'm sure that certain words that I said, that you perhaps will learn something from me. That's how life is. That you, like a blotting paper, you try to absorb wherever there is knowledge, because knowledge has a value, tremendous value in knowledge. So that's what you need to do, especially as a commentator. If you don't know your stats, spend time, learn about the history of a player. That the other day, I mentioned on Facebook, actually brought tears into my eyes. Ian Bishop talking about our cricketing history, talking about guys from the days of Dulip Mendis to Siddharth Pettamuni to Ranjan Madugalas to Ravindra Pushpakumar is going down in detail, in his vivid memory. He broke it down in his, even Hashan getting his brilliant 96, in Sharjah, ball by ball. It's amazing, and that's what makes him an exceptional commentator compared to the others. So yes, you are eloquent, compared to so many others. So that is your advantage. So probably your disadvantage is that your lack of history, the knowledge about the game, which you can always. That's how stats don't lie. It's very easy. Now you go to Google, there's whatever you need, and you pick up on a topic and you talk about it. Your ability should be, once you are behind the microphone, how you capture that audience. The people listen to you, and the more number of hits you get, you are a winner. I mean, that's how it works. That's my perspective about a commentator, and I have a group of commentators whom I would love to listen to, and it's always that more.
Who's your favorite, if I may ask you? Who's your favorite commentators, other than me, of course?
I'm sure that I'll be listening to you very closely. Now that we had a chat, mate. You can't put I always I love listening to Nick Knight. Not many people would, to the English.
That's true, actually. He sounds a lot like Nasser Hussain, but the guy is good. You're right. He brings a lot of interesting analysis to the game.
And in general, I would, I say that I like the English commentators because they're unbiased. They keep it a very balanced kind of approach into the game. They say it how they see it. And after listening to Ian Bishop,
Ian Bishop is obviously on another level. He's just on top league, isn't he?
Yeah, and even some of these the young Indian commentators, I played with him, right arm leggy from what's his name? I'm very bad with
Murali Karthik, is it?
He's good. No, I'm talking about the right arm leg spinner, the old he has a long name, that to play for India, right arm leg spinner from.
This guy, of course, Chakra something. doesn't come to the mouth.
No. You're talking about a his name will come to me. That he played for Tamil
Maybe if you
Nadu.
watch the IPL now, he'll be there.
Yeah, he's there, and then they're brilliant. I mean, some of those guys are. They have come a long way. But what I have noticed is that the more you do it, and you get better at it,
The better you become. That's very true.
That's where you may have a problem that the limited exposure you're going to get.
That's very true. Actually, it's very ad hoc. Sometimes you're doing a match, and then for 6 months there's nothing, and then suddenly you're called in to do a match. So you've barely seen what's going on, and you're out of touch. You're right. Actually, the lack of opportunities is definitely a problem.
Just I'll tell you, it may sound crazy that I when I was just I sat with Tony Gregg some time back, just before I left Sri Lanka, that when I had the employment overseas, I did one series with him, and what Tony got me to do, even after I do, after my limited time with him, just once I finished that, Tony would get me behind a monitor and go on talking about the show off the air.
Okay.
So that you don't take a break. So although that you finish your stint and your time, and once you come off, you go and sit in a corner, sit in front of a monitor. You keep on talking.
So you're constantly involved in the game and you're in form, because I believe in speaking form. That's always there, because if you haven't spoken for a long time and then you're taking a break and then again speaking in public, you can be a bit itchy and iffy, so you're right. Actually, that makes a lot of sense. That's brilliant advice.
And with today's technology, even if IPL game is on, mute it, knock the volume off, and you put the microphone on and you give the commentaries, and you could listen to it and see that how you performed, and that's the more you do it, once you get out there, that you will see the difference. It's all about hard work. There are no shortcuts in life, that very simply, and it will show. Anyone who does that, will do it with a good heart and put in a lot of hard yards, the results will show. Anything in life, leave alone cricket,
that's the extra 1% that you're talking about, no?
That's the extra 1%. I mean, when I first started the show, that it all happened, myself and Avishka, that it's over a drink. That's how the name came, a drink with Charith. And we were having a discussion. So I told Avishka, mate, why don't we go live and let the whole world hear what you and I have to say.
Valuable discussion. I'm sure you and Avishka must have had crazy amount of good things to share.
We did, and we spoke about our time in Jamaica, which people did not know. And we together we have gone into places like Sylhet in Bangladesh, and nobody wants to go there, and we got stuck in Bangladesh over a period for about 3 weeks in that place. It is worse than functioning inside a bubble, because we were the only foreigners there, and it was a hard time for us, and how we survived. So we had a lot of nice things to talk about. And then from there onwards, all my mates who listened, they said, hey mate, why don't you have a regular show? And then from cricket I moved on to entertainment, and then to all the other fields. Only thing that I've done, which I don't think I'll never do it, I had never had a politician on my show, but
don't have it. not at least until politics is clean in Sri Lanka.
Not my intention, not my intention in the near future. Just to quickly run, that Mohammad Riza Tahir, and of course, he's my he does a lot of work with me. What do you think about the commentator combination of Samir and Shanak Amarasinghe as our English commentators for the cricket? We can have our own Harsha Bogle.
Shanak Amarasinghe is also one of my mentors. I absolutely, look up to the guy, and I've learned so much from him as well.
And just to say, Suhashini, always good to have on the show, and she's all the way from USA. Jason, most of international schools they do not have a proper place to play cricket, which is we discussed. Yes, Lakshman all the way from Aussie. These are all people from overseas. Dilki Evagam, good to have you. She's all the way from Canada. And
Sarah international audience there.
Cheryl is all the way from Aussie, and it's going. We are going global. I think the people are in Sri Lanka. It's 7 o'clock. People have just got home and they are getting ready for the New Year. And by the way, the people who are celebrating New Year, I put a on. I just put a like a note on top, wishing everybody Happy New Year. Manikam is in Singapore. Great. There's a lot to learn from you, and I always look up to you. Thank you. Sivaramakrishnan. That's the name I was. Lakshman Sivaramakrishnan. That's the.
Yes, there you go. That's the name. Yes.
The name. That's the name I was looking for. Brilliant. That's he's a brilliant commentator. That's always. It's a pleasure to listen to him as well. And we've been talking to 1 hour. Samir, and you and I.
Can I ask you one last question, if you don't mind?
Sure, mate. Please go ahead. Yeah.
I actually reached out to you, I think, was it a month ago, asking if you could come on my show and speak about, I think, was it the West Indies ODI series, to do a review on it. And right. I think you were occupied, you were busy or something, and you said maybe next time. What inspired you to get me on your show, if you don't mind me asking you?
I actually, I didn't know you that well at that point, but yet it doesn't matter, I always, I've spoken to a lot of people, whom I have not met in my life, and just purely on someone's recommendation. Then I heard you briefly on Papare during that Red Bull
Campus Cricket. Okay. All right.
Yeah.
All right.
And you came with Ricky and Haritha and
Kosala, they were all there. Yes.
Yeah, with all those guys. And I thought, hey, this guy's got, he's got talent, and he needs some recognition, and that I need to showcase this boy. And
that's so nice of you, man. I really, really appreciate it. That's in a world where most people are trying to sort of, cut each other off. It's always so great to have someone genuinely want to see someone excel. That's really nice of you. I really, really appreciate it.
Because my show is all about, that I always bring people who have a story to tell, story to relate to the rest of the world, and people whom can that inspire others. That's how it should be. And I just want to, and it's a pleasure for me to sit and listen to their side of the story. It's always,
as you said, the more you know, it's always better, right? If you know more people, know their stories, it expands your horizons, as Mr. Arun Dayas so beautifully said once.
Yeah. And as the Bob Marley said, the more you know, the more you learn, the less you know. So it's
true.
That's so you want to learn from others. You share your ideas, and if I can help another person in life, and that's brilliant, and that's give me fulfillment and in life, and to see another young man doing well, and some of the people whom have helped in my life, they have gone, they're doing really well. Kusal Kumar, he has his own, he started his own show from Carol Tozers, and I don't know how many people, they all started their own shows, talk shows, and doing pretty well in life. That's all you can do to see someone else doing well. So I hope and pray, and I will always support you wherever you are as a commentator with all the limited opportunities available in this country. It's not going to be I'm telling you, it's not going to be a bed of roses for you. That you really yes. You have to put in hard yards and keep working at it. Then perhaps what you could do is, if you happen to see a match, talk about something that you have seen, not what the others spoke. Even it's absolutely rubbish. That's your something unique. That's what sells in this world. The uniqueness.
A different perspective.
If you try to try to emulate somebody else, or
of course not. No, I'm a big fan of being original. I always tell, even when young people come and ask me, I say, listen, you can be a good speaker, it's fine, but please don't copy and mimic others. Be yourself. Come up with your own original identity. Nothing is as good as that.
That's it. Big hi to Russ, who's joining us, and the people are just, I think, that's the time people.
You were right. 8 o'clock is the correct time, actually. I just got word that we haven't sighted the moon, which means Ramadan doesn't begin tomorrow. It begins day after. So yeah.
Mm-hmm. Oh, it's hard times, isn't it? Just at least probably if you have a couple of single friends that you could enjoy some New Year goodies, and that then.
But we have one more day to consume all the Keam cookies and stuff. Hopefully we'll get sent some. My good friend Sanjeeva Batuwata used to send me Keam cookies all the time. But now he's in Paris. He's having Paris out the vibes all the way in France. So yeah, let's see. Hopefully I can expect some cookies from my new neighbors here in Dehiwala.
Yeah. So you can enjoy that. It's absolute crazy. Now I've just I've seen some pictures. What happened today in Maharagama?
Oh my God, yes, it's kind of scary, man.
You talk of COVID, mate. Where is COVID? People have gone berserk.
I think as COVID got more and more serious, our fears just got lesser and lesser. We were like, okay, you know what? Like you said, most of us must have got it and gotten rid of it also, and we don't even know.
Nobody's bothered, and I mean it become absolute joke right now. People talk of social distancing, and
nothing of that sort.
Authorities are literally pleading people, not to travel out stations, and just to make sure that during this, the holiday period, to take care. But people just don't. I think they are not bothered
People have had
anymore.
enough. It's frustrating now. People have had enough.
Only thing that I what I want to tell everybody listening out there, yes, that it has not hit this part of the world that hard, and not many casualties or fatalities in this part of the world. People are not dying, but it's not a joke, Samir. That if you have got it, certain people, and it's hard. If you really, it's not a disease that you would take it lightly, or that you would play around, because it can have very adverse reactions. I'm telling you by first-hand experience. So respect it. What I'm saying is, you do not have to be scared of it, but respect it for the fact that, because sometimes you can be a carrier and you would not know, and you would pass it on to so many others, which is not fair.
Right.
So Samir, I think you are called by your that I know that you're a busy man, and that your family is calling for you. And thanks for the chat.
You're welcome. You're welcome. It's been an absolute pleasure talking to you, man. An honor, as I said earlier, it's an honor to be on a drink with Charith. Hopefully, we'll physically meet one day and have a drink together. I'll have a mocktail though, as I said.
You're welcome, man. Anytime, you're welcome to come. Just to come for training if you want. Hit a few balls, throw a few balls, and
that would be great. I would love to be able to bowl to guys like Bhanuka, man. That would be really nice.
You're welcome. There's anytime. Once we start cricket, come and see us. We'd love to have you. Thanks for being on the show, and thanks to everybody who has being a part of the show. And until we meet again, you take care and stay safe, mate. All the very best.
Thanks, guys. Bye-bye. Thank you for watching. Cheers. Bye-bye. Subalu tahu.
Yeah. And that's it, folks. From me to you on this New Year's Eve. Hopefully that everybody will have a good Sinhala and Tamil New Year. But when I say Sinhala and Tamil New Year, I would like to call it a Sri Lankan New Year. That you look after yourself. Have a great holiday, and see you soon back on the other side. Until then, bye-bye. Stay safe. Good luck.